Universal Periodic Review is a new mechanism that allows civil society to work with governments around the world to guarantee that human rights are realized at home. I have to admit, when it was first created, many of us had a lot of concerns in civil society. The states that were organizing the final negotiations were really stressing it was going to be a state-driven process. So what we tried to do is make sure that civil society was included. And we only had a couple of paragraphs and words. But from those couple paragraphs and words, I think we're able to revolutionize the UPR process to make sure that civil society is not just a part of, but is the core participants in this process. The government, I think, let us down based on other UPR processes I've seen. Everyone that comes to the UPR brings something to the table and says, this is what we're going to do, and this is a sign of good faith of how we're going to do that. The U.S. government failed in that. They could have brought the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People and said, there's a review process, and we're going to adopt that, and this is a sign of good faith that we're going to do this now, and in March, we're going to show progress and keep moving forward. So while we talked about progress of humanity in the United States, they didn't give specific examples today, and that's a tragic failure. On the other hand, the U.S. did something at the next level. Only Switzerland hosted a joint press conference after their UPR, and Mexico had a much smaller meeting with civil society. So the idea of a town hall meeting was absolutely crucial and important, not just for us today, but more importantly for the future, for other NGOs and civil society that will come here and say, why can't we have a meeting? We should be able to talk with our government. You should be able to meet with us, not just give statements and not be able to actually provide follow-up. So that was important. In March, there'll be the final report. That then is our roadmap to this human rights revolution of where we're going next. So we really do have this window from November to March to organize a gigantic campaign to engage the U.S. government so that they do what they should have done in November and March, that they actually will promise specific things and put those forward. The UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People should be one of those things that can be done. CEDAW for women's rights should be able to be done before Congress comes back again in January. There's a small window and there's momentum, and we have to move forward with that. The people who came here and told their stories, I believe will be able to tell a story within their lifetime of how things changed based on when they first came here and when they first started this process. So this is the UPR. I think it is another important tool in our toolbox. It's not the only one, but it's one that we should engage in, and it's very important to continue the process. And we'll see how the U.S. record of ratification will change over time, and we'll see then how this will really become a process for the people. Most importantly, it should be something that we don't have to do in Geneva. Human rights should be on the agenda of every politician and every policymaker. The UN, in a way, is a friendly reminder to say, I know you got kind of busy with everything in life, but guess what? It's 4 years again, and how are we doing? In a way, it's like a marriage between the people and its government. And the government makes certain promises when we start dating, and then once we're in the relationship, they just forget. And so what we're doing is a friendly reminder to say, if we're going to stay together, we've got to make our commitments and live up to those. And if you don't want to do that, then this is what's going to happen, and there's consequences.